Right, and then the last two things, guys, that I like to talk about with the suppliers is just to tell them to be thorough, right? Because sometimes they'll give you really short answers, and I just want to make sure right up front that the more thorough and the more detailed that their answers are on this initial email is probably going to be one of the biggest determining factors in the decision that we make for our long-term partner, and that kind of like tells them to give you all the details up front. Always try to cut out as much of this back and forth communication as you can, because the more products that you start to source, the more time that this starts to take, right? And so you want to be efficient as possible up front. The last thing I do, and again to save time, is the Alibaba messaging platform just isn't really well done. A lot of times suppliers and their sales representatives don't use it, and so I always say I will not respond via Alibaba. Please copy and paste your answers in number format directly to my Skype address, right? And then include your Skype. And then everything should go smoothly, guys. So if you do all of those steps, I promise you, you're going to save so much time. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. We'll see you on the next. Alright guys, so one of the questions that I get asked very often about the supplier manufacturer shipping process is kind of how to approach these suppliers in a way that is going to get you the best response, right? Because the best suppliers in the world, the ones that you want to be contacting and working with, are getting tens, 20s, hundreds of different inquiries from people every single day. And for a lot of the sales representatives on the supplier side, a lot of these sales conversations are leading kind of to dead ends, and it's a waste of their time. So they've gotten pretty good at identifying which potential leads are worth pursuing, worth following up on, worth giving their best service to, and that is the category that you want to be in. And so something that I made and that I shared with you guys, it's in the Ninja Resources folder, so you can definitely check it out, is the manufacturer template. And this is the exact template, guys, that I actually use myself when I'm contacting suppliers and trying to get the best prices and best response and the quickest response. Right, so let's go through a few of these points and let's understand kind of why that we are including these things. So you don't want to introduce yourself as like a person, right? You want to be the purchasing agent of a large company, right? And so I always introduce myself as the purchasing agent, saying that like our CEO personally asked me to pursue working together in a lucrative business adventure for us both. I established that we're based in Silicon Valley in California, kind of use some buzzwords, New York, right? Because, not all of these sales representatives know every city and state in the USA, but they definitely do know the main ones. We would like to have you be the sole nationwide manufacturer of a product similar to this link. And so the reason that I do it like this, guys, is because there's so many little details and nuances that are very difficult kind of to describe via text. And so giving them like an actual visual cue really takes out a lot of the guesswork and intermediary conversations, which saves you guys a lot of time. And so with every Amazon link, actually, they give you the product specifications right there in the product details, right? And so you can just take this out, and if you want to make any changes to colors or weights or sizes, or any additions like that, just include them in the product specifications with a if you want to actually change the product, include an asterisk or make it in red text or something like that, so that they really understand that that's a point that you care a lot about. Something that I've learned just kind of through experience is that in the Chinese schooling system, which is where most of us are going to be sourcing from through Alibaba, they're really trained to kind of answer questions in numerical order, right? So instead of giving questions in bullet form, it really, and I know this seems strange, guys, but it really makes a huge difference to number your questions and give them instructions that you want them to answer underneath each question, one by one, so they actually give you answers. Because so often, and if you've done research yourself, I'm sure they'll kind of just glaze over certain parts of your questions, and then it leads to more follow-up, and with sourcing a bunch of different products, it starts to become a huge time suck if these conversations aren't efficient. And so I always ask for, can we get a sample? How much are you going to charge? Give them like a zip code. And then an important factor, especially for, expensive items or custom molds, the sample fees can get kind of expensive, right? And so one of the things that pretty much every supplier I've ever dealt with will do is they'll refund the sample charge on your first order, right? So if you're going to order a sample, send one to me, send one to my product photographer, just so they have it, so they can, take the pictures and everything can kind of move without any bottlenecks. I always do that, guys. That's a tip. That's a ninja tip for you. I always get 2 samples, send one to me for me to inspect the quality, make sure that everything's looking good on that front, and then I send one directly to my product photographer so he has it, and if we do decide to go forward, then we can do so quickly. Right, so an important part is, do they have the ability to package your product in a custom, a custom packaging? I usually just use white glossy boxes, throw my logo on there, and then you can either print your FN SKU, which I explained in the previous lesson, directly on your packaging, or you can just make a sticker and then throw it on, right? And so poly bags, just as a note as we're going along, guys, poly bags are another option if you don't want to actually fit it into a cardboard box, or you have kind of a misshapen item, or you want to put two different things. Poly bags, think of it basically as a bag, a strong bag containing your item, and then you can just throw a sticker of your FN SKU directly on that, and Amazon can just scan the sticker of the poly bag, and people get that combination of items. I like to talk about what is the cost per unit, including the packaging and FOB shipping, which I'll be discussing later, of 500 units and 5,000 units. And so why I do this, guys, is because they'll give you prices, and you can kind of see the discount that they'll give you based on the amount of units that you're ordering. And a lot of times, if there is a significant difference, you can kind of ease them into a final negotiation tactic of honoring the 5,000 MOQ price for your initial products, or for your initial order of 500. And so this is a tactic I've used a ton of times, guys. It works, and so I always ask for 2. Right, and then you want to know how long it's going to take to manufacture and process those 500 and 5,000 units, because then you can properly do your inventory forecasting for manufacture time, ship time, and then you can make sure that you have all the calculations right as far as when your products are going to be in stock.